No like trust puts you out there. No like trust helps you show up as an authority. No like trust helps protect your reputation. No like trust makes you known. What known gets you is pats on the back and some Instagram followers. What known does not get you is paid.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get paid, if you want your business to profit, if you want your business to grow, if you want to live a lifestyle that entrepreneurship or self-employment affords you, then you have to be willing to ask. Don't ask, don't get. So no like trust is incredible until you realize that trust, they can hang out and trust for forever.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people on my mailing list for 6 years. Cool. They trust me so much, they'd probably let me house sit at this point. But have they paid me? No, because I'm not offering something that they need, or I haven't gotten a chance to ask them directly to let me solve a problem with them. Don't ask, don't get.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. Appreciate you, as always, joining me today. I definitely want to share one of my obsessions now as far as business goes, right? I was obsessed at one point, I think, with just the whole branding and marketing aspects of my health coaching practice. And again, I think it's kind of interesting that it sort of mirrors what I need at the time, that somehow the universe presents people who can help me with that just because I'm struggling with it, honestly, right? And it's just amazing how many times that a guest just appears, and like this, in this instance, a sequence of guests. And I'm not sure if it's going to be the trajectory of my releasing these shows where we're going to be strictly talking about sales, which again this is something that I think is fascinating as well. And I'm in love with the topic, and I'm dying to find out more of how I can be better at it. And I think that it's so important for health coaches to get past the selling component, right? You know, we can have all the funnels and the marketing and all this kind of stuff that leads people to what we're offering, right? And if we don't sell it, you're not going to make any money, right? That's just the way it is. And I know personally, I've always had some difficulties asking for sales, pricing properly, all because of just these crazy limiting beliefs that I've had around money and receiving. And there's just a lot of dynamics to it. So that's my new obsession. And I'm so happy that I'm able to get in contact with such wonderful guests like today's guest, Annie Ruggles, who is a sales monster as far as being able to put it in a perspective that I think that the health coaches are really gonna resonate with and enjoy. So Annie is going to show us some real interesting tips on how to just get past some of that noise and really just show the value of the services that we are offering and the value that we are withholding from people by not actually going in for that sale. So as always, appreciate you listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Let's jump into the show. Hey, Annie, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am so wonderful, Omar. Thank you for having me.
I am super, super excited to have you. And I'm really excited to just break down some of this craziness around sales. So I know that sales isn't easy, but one of the things that I find particularly problematic for health coaches specifically is just the whole idea around sales. So I'm so excited that you're an expert at this and you have such positive points of view around the subject that it's going to make my audience feel a lot better about asking for the deals, asking for sales, asking for money in general. So I'm really excited for you to share that. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became such a prominent force in the sales industry?
Absolutely. Ooh, a prominent force in the sales industry. If you went back in a DeLorean time machine and told tiny me that I was going to be a figure in the sales industry, I think I would have gone back to bed and stayed there. I never, ever anticipated teaching sales because for me, just like for many of your coaches, sales felt like a violation of the relationships and trust that I was building. when I was doing things like copywriting, ghostwriting, and marketing and branding consulting for super small businesses. And these businesses, just like your coaches, a lot of them see their jobs as the fulfillment or delivery of a God-given gift or their passion, their vocation, something that turned their own life around, right? So many health coaches, when I say, what's your origin story? They say, oh, I was, extremely obese and my knees didn't work and I wanted to be able to dance at my daughter's wedding and now I'm a health coach, right? Like that own transformation, it is understandably gross feeling for people to go, and that'll be $9.95 times a million, right? So it felt really gross to me. And as such, I almost put myself out of business 9 ways over because I was just marketing and never asking. And I had no clue that this was happening until I started watching my super brilliant clients failing right and left. And it was like watching the next Beyonce fall down. And you're like, how? How is this possible? And then I realized it's because they're modeling me. And I'm just out here in these internet streets, as my friend Keisha calls them, just over delivering and over marketing and over delivering and overspending and scaling noise and not getting there, when I realized that all of that pomp and circumstance was because I was terrified of asking incorrectly or hearing a rejection. And I knew that that had to change. And a couple of years later, I've been fully focused on sales now. And I do not teach marketing or branding anymore. It's all sales for heart-centered people, because I know that you can't possibly have a business until you're ready to receive.
Yeah, the receiving part is a big deal. And I'm glad that you brought that up. How do health coaches specifically exercise their receiving muscles a little bit better so that we can get something back in return for the valuable service we provide?
It's challenging when you think about the boundaries involved in health coaching, because health coaching is an extremely intimate industry. Right? My personal trainer has seen me cry more than my mother. And my personal trainer also understands my relationship with, weight gain and my mother, more than my own mother. And I don't say that to say that it should be harder, but I say that when you are working with someone or hoping to work with someone in such a nurturing capacity, it can feel very gross to turn around with your hand out and be like, okay, our session's up, now pay me. But that's exactly what you have to do, because you are providing a service. You are solving a problem. But for me, one of the things that I've seen with health coaches and coaches in general, but especially in those most intimate ones, the ones that are working with you literally hands on, literally blood, sweat, and tears, is that idea of how are we showing up in their lives and making sure that that role is a supportive role and not a starring role. And that is really challenging for a lot of coaches. And if we go in as, I will carry them across the finish line. I will have them in a Tough Mudder by next year. I will get them there. They will be there. I will wake up at 4:00 in the morning so that they get results. When we put ourselves in that position, then it's really hard to turn around and be like, I have provided a service and now I will wash my hands of you and go about the rest of my day. But instead, if we go, I will be your best cheerleader, I will be your best advisor, we make it still always about them, which is our intention from the get-go, for it to be all about them. If we actually make it all about them, then we know where our lane is, we know where our boundaries are, and we can feel better about ethically asking and passionately and compassionately asking to be compensated for our services. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I still think we need another layer, because I think, unfortunately, health coaches, even with all that being said, we know we're giving away a lot of value. That's just doing a lot. And it's even up to that point where we can feel, is it guilt? Is a little bit of that involved as well? I'd like to ask for compensation. Maybe there's a strategy to ask before we start this crazy journey with these clients.
Yeah, I see caregiver guilt a lot, especially in coaches, but people with nursing backgrounds, physical therapy backgrounds, right? A lot of health coaches are coming at this from a traditional health background. And in a traditional health background, for example, nurses or social workers or physical therapists or OTs, they come to this with this idea of the hospital pays my bills and I show up every day to fight the system for my client. Right. So we see this a lot with nurses or even people in gyms, right? Where like maybe the gym culture is changing and the trainer sees that and is worried about their clients not still feeling safe, or maybe something happened in the gym, or maybe there's been, COVID. Hello, COVID in a gym environment. That's going to completely change everything. You got to go online now. How are you going to keep delivering top service? Or, you got to rotate. You can't do group training anymore. How do we receive in these aspects? And it's this idea of, I just so badly want them to get what they want. And I know that I can get them there, that we lose track of ourselves in that and feel guilty for charging to make people and help people feel better, because according to us, everyone should do the work and everyone should be feeling better already. So we don't want them to be in pain. Of course, we don't want them to be in pain. But one thing that we can do up front is we can compassionately look at the pain that they're in and not just paint the picture of the after picture. So much of health coaching is dependent on the after picture. And of course, it's hard to charge for the after picture. We can't promise that. And it also feels 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 6 years away. But if we look at building that relationship now, we don't want to be like, hey, and y'all can't see me. I am a teapot. I am very short and very stout, and I have a lot of muscle under a lot of fluff. Right? I'm not saying go to your clients and be like, hey, do you not want to be fat anymore? That doesn't work. Right? That doesn't work. But we could go, the fitness industry is really not very compassionate toward people that work out constantly and still aren't seeing results. And I have a feeling if you're seeing me, you might be stuck in that I work out every day and I'm not getting anywhere feeling, because you told me you got a lot of chub, but you got a lot of muscle underneath. And I want to know why that is, because that must be really frustrating. That is charting the problem now in a way that doesn't make me feel bad or gross or nasty, but also says, look, we got real issues we got to deal with right now. And we can't just go banking on when that scale goes down, right? So it's not just about the non-scale victories. It's also about the non-scale pains. And if we aren't addressing those at the beginning, number one, the client is going to have unrealistic expectations. And number two, of course, we're not going to know what to charge because we're charging based on a result. Right? So it feels very disordered and gross and nasty, especially then when the client turns around and struggles, or, their kid gets COVID, or, they go on vacation and they indulge themselves and then they come back up. Now I, as coach, have to really rein it back in. No, you don't. You have to be compassionate and continue to solve the problem. And remember that as a problem solver, you need to be consistently compensated. Does that make more sense, Omar?
Absolutely. And I guess the last component of it that I want to throw in there, just so I think we can have a completely perfect picture of this, is the fact that what you were saying is totally an awesome skill set. It's an awesome plan. It's an awesome idea to get your clients where that they will eventually want to go and where they need to go. Like, why is it so hard for health coaches and coaches in general to put a monetary value on that at that point?
Oh, gosh, so many reasons. Number one, the industry is super saturated. Number two, the pricing in the industry is cray-cray. Right? So, I mean, if we think of it this way, just in terms of health, there's a gym down the street that's like $10 a month, super bare bones, $10 a month. And there's a yoga studio down the street that's $400 a month. That's $10 to $400 a month. Multiply that by 12. We're looking at the difference between, $120 and really high into the thousands.
Mhm.
right? So of course, sometimes when we're like, I'm a financial coach and therefore I want to offer a 9-module program on credit card repair, then you can go out and you can be like, hey, here's another, it's 10, that's 12 weeks, mine's 9 weeks. They're not as experienced as me, but ballpark, this seems to be pretty comparable. You take that out to a health coach. There are some health coaches who are just doing 3-hour discovery calls and never actually charging. So they're just giving out all the free advice all day. And there are people that can just go from, Groupon style, from cheap coach to cheap coach to cheap coach. And then there's, whoever Oprah's seeing today that's charging $10,000 a day. It's hard to level set where you should be charging, just first and foremost, because the industry is all over the place. Number one. Number two, it's hard to make guarantees in health coaching. Number one, we always have to be very careful with this stuff about pain-based language, right? We can't be like, you're going to be pain-free by next Tuesday. Number one, we can't promise that. Number two, we medically and legally cannot promise that. Right? Like that is not something we can do. And also, you can tell me that your 12-module program about resetting my microbiome so that I can kick my autoimmune disease to the curb. You can tell me every single piece of information. You can rock my world with that information. But at the end of the day, if I find out that I shouldn't be eating gluten and I have my session with you, I love it. I'm totally inspired by it. And then behind your back, go eat an entire roll of bread, or like an entire loaf of bread. That's not on you, Omar. So how do we charge for results? We can't. We can only charge for our presence, our time, and our experience. And that is like nailing a fish to the wall when it comes to value, because there's too many pieces, just too many pieces.
Well, and I think that's a fantastic way to put it, because we do have a tendency to tie it to results, and I think that's one of the big problems for sure.
Because I want to see myself, and that's the thing about diet culture, and this may very much be my bias as a chubby girl, but what I want in branding and what I want in marketing, and this is across all industries, but especially in the fitness industry, it's one thing, or health industry, it's one thing to aspire to a picture of perfect health, right? It's one thing to look at the after photo and go, wow, look at those abs, or, read a testimonial about someone being like, my knee pain is gone. I've lost 20 pounds. My autoimmune condition is reversing. We want to see ourselves in the after because we want to know that the after is possible. But if you don't meet me where I am right now, living my before photo, I don't trust that you can get my special, unique, chubby butt to the finish line. I don't believe that, because you're only focusing on where we're going. I need someone that understands where I am now, mentally and physically, and has a process for getting me there, right? So sometimes the coach gets fixated on the end result. So their whole website's about the end result. So their whole promise is about the end result. So their whole pricing is about the end result. And I'm going, yes. I would love to be 130 pounds again. But right now I can't even look in a mirror. Can we start there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely a part of the approach that you're going to have to put together when you're trying to get a client and find out, if they're fits for you as well. Like you do want to meet them. There's no doubt about that, where they are.
I just feel like we do. And this is not just health coaching, but so many of us have that eye on the prize mentality that we tend to jump onto the roller coaster of the learning curve of the client, or the experiential curve of the client, a little bit too late to really foster them well.
Okay. I mean, it definitely makes a lot of sense. And I'm thinking of all the mistakes I've made in the past, and it all makes it come together really nicely. So
not mistakes, experiments.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the reasons that I found you very intriguing is the fact that your grandfather was actually a used car salesman. And why do you think that profession itself creates such a negative connotation towards sales? And I mean, it's really something that I guess we all make reference to when we feel this sleazy feeling about selling.
Because here's the thing about the used car salesman. The used car salesman is the ultimate swindler. The used car salesman is the ultimate shining example of screw you, I got mines, right? So they will sell you, in the stereotype, they will sell you the fanciest car on the lot, no matter what your circumstances is. Or they'll sell you the lemon that they've put the fresh coat of wax on and made it look like a really great deal, right? The whole thing about the used car salesman is that you cannot trust them to have your best interest at heart. Right? Because they just want you to buy a car today and they don't care. We are terrified of being perceived as screw you, I got mine. We are especially in health coaching. Oh my goodness. Number one, it would murder your reputation. Number two, it would murder your heart. We are coaches because we love our clients. We are hands-on in the muck solving their problems because we love our clients. And maybe love isn't the word you use, but you're invested in them. It's a co-investment, right? But the used car salesman never is invested in you. The second you drive off the lot and the wheels fall off your car, he's out on the links. He doesn't care about you. He's gone, right? And what happened, and the reason I think the used car salesman legend persists is, number one, it's been totally eaten by media, right? It's everywhere, especially looking at like the 40s, 50s, and 60s. There's that kind of, like before that, it was the snake oil salesman, right? Now we have the used car salesman. But the snake oil salesman, same thing. He doesn't care about your problems, so you're bald. Big deal. Here, drink this ink and Diet Coke, and I'll be gone by the time you realize that your tongue's
it's not working,
We don't care, but we do care. But that caring and that nurturing and that desire to help someone grow and change and in health coaching, heal or thrive, that you look at the model of what you've been taught that selling is, which is the lying, the manipulating, the gimmicks, the tricks, the arm twisting. And we go, I would never want to do that to someone I care about so much as my prospect. I would never want to do that. I don't want to be a used car salesman. Well, you mentioned my grandpa. My grandpa was the most honest, noble, quiet, unemotional dude in the world. And what made him a really incredible used car salesman is if you came to him and you're like, hey, I'm a single dad of 3 kids and I need my kids to be safe, but I also need it to not guzzle gas. And I need to just make sure that I'm going to get to work on time. And also if it could have a hitch on the back so I could tow some stuff, that would be ideal. My grandpa would go, okay, here's what I think you need based on what you told me. You need 3 seats for your kids plus a little extra room for the dog. You need the hitch. You need it to be pretty gas efficient for something with a hitch. And you need it to be safe. Because of all those things, what I recommend for you is this car. My grandpa wasn't trying to sell a Ferrari. My grandpa was trying to sell the car they needed. Same with the health coach. We are trying to ideally solve the problem people have with the solution that they need and be compensated for that. We're not putting every single person that comes off the street into my, get thin quick scheme program. Because that treats everybody like a number and not like a struggling person. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Fantastic explanation. And you did bring up the obvious thing that we are taught, specifically in business health coaching, no different, about the know, like, and trust factor. That's not all there is to it, is there?
Hell no. Hell no. Know, like, trust is extremely important. Know, like, trust puts you out there. Know, like, trust helps you show up as an authority. Know, like, trust helps protect your reputation. Know, like, trust makes you known. What known gets you is pats on the back and some Instagram followers. What known does not get you is paid. If you want to get paid, if you want your business to profit, if you want your business to grow, if you want to live a lifestyle that entrepreneurship or self-employment affords you, then you have to be willing to ask. Don't ask, don't get. So know, like, trust is incredible until you realize that trust, they can hang out and trust for forever. I've had people on my mailing list for 6 years. Cool. They trust me so much, they'd probably let me house sit at this point. But have they paid me? No, because I'm not offering something that they need, or I haven't gotten a chance to ask them directly to let me solve a problem with them. Don't ask, don't get. They can hang out watching your TikTok videos forever. They can compliment your form till the cows come home. Right? But at the end of the day, if you want them to understand that you are available to be partnered with, you have to say, this is what I'm selling you. This is the problem it solves. This is how much it costs. And this is where you sign up for it. If you don't do that, you're damning yourself to over marketing and over delivering forever. And I don't say that with judgment. I did the exact same thing. But for a health coach, how do we get people results one TikTok at a time? We don't. We need them to go deeper. And if we need them to go deeper, we need to be compensated. And if we need to be compensated, we need to ask.
No, amen. There's definitely no doubt about that. So getting back to the ask, and I know that we spoke about receiving, like what tips do you have for us to just ask? It sounds kind of like a silly, simple question, but I know it's something that holds a lot of people back.
Take your sales script or your sales spiel and burn it. It's not helping you. It might be, if anything, giving you tunnel vision about the struggles of your avatar, right? Avatar is important. Typing is important. But when we use that to type up a script and then force that script on someone, we rob them of their ability to be unique in our eyes. And we already start putting them in a box. And if the box is a perfect fit for them, awesome. Then we get a client. If the box is not a perfect fit for them and we're a good salesman, then we deal with it in customer service. Or if the box isn't a good fit for them and we don't know that, we lose the sale. Right? So in all of those aspects, when it comes to the ask itself, I want you using real detail given to you by real people. If that's your website, I want you, with permission or with their stuff removed, right? We're not about to be nasty on this, but if you're writing web copy, I don't want your website to say, do you want to feel better? Every single person on the planet wants to feel better. The healthiest person alive wants to feel better. But, you know, my ideal clients are overweight. Everybody's ideal clients are overweight. What does it mean to say, you know, my ideal clients know they have strong bodies under layers of fluff? If I went to that website, I would be like, oh my gosh, that is me. I'm already primed to give you my money. But then once that's just a website, on a sales call itself or in a selling situation, or I know a lot of health coaches do discovery calls or trial sessions. Even then, your job is listening, not teaching, listening, not coaching, listening, not guiding, so that at the end of it, we can make sure we're not just spoon feeding them one of our greatest hits or sound bites, right? We're not just slapping a Band-Aid on the problem. We're saying, you know what? Thank you so much for telling me that. No one's ever really explained it to me before, that joint pain feels like drowning because you feel like you can never just get to where you want to. That must have been hard to share, and I honor that. So what are you and I going to do to get you out of that drowning feeling? That detail parroted back makes them feel seen, and making them feel seen makes them feel safe, and safety gets them around that risk aversion of even pursuing that next step, because change is freaking scary. Health coaches, getting skinny is scary. Getting healthy is scary. Dealing with your type 1 diabetes is scary. It's scary. It's change, because each of those carries the risk of failure. If you're going to get me around that, make me feel seen with my own detail, and then say, let's solve this specific problem together using those details. That sets you up perfectly to say, my suggested way of solving this problem together is this, and the price for this is that. And then you just ask and listen. That's it. Exactly how I just did. I want to solve this problem with you. The problem, as I understand it, is this. For this, I recommend this. This is what's included in that. This is what you get with that beyond what's included in that. This is the price for that. How does that land on you? Then stop talking.
well, that's one of my Achilles heels, I guess, too. I think that, and again, I've heard it from a lot of other health coaches as well, is that we try to justify our knowledge in the subject, and we tend to speak and teach on these calls, and it's not the proper time and place for it.
This is a broad generalization, but I've worked with a lot of health coaches. And so let me at least just say most of my clients who are health coaches and let you draw conclusions to the larger industry. Most of my clients who are health coaches are not the first health coach or health something that their ideal clients have gone through. Mm-hmm. Most of our people have been burned before. Or at least in terms of the health coaches that I work with, right? And so most of them have had either subpar coaching or mismatched coaching, or have self-medicated based on coaching, or have tried to cobble stuff together. But a lot of us have some pretty low-key, little t trauma around our health or our perception of where we should be. And if we don't address that in these calls, we don't have to be like, tell me everybody who hurt you, boo-boo. We don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. But if we don't dramatically show up in different energy, they are going to very understandably assume, I know what this is, right? A Big Mac is a Big Mac is a Big Mac is a Big Mac. It doesn't matter what country I'm in. If I go in, it's a Big Mac. It tastes like a Big Mac. Mm-hmm. If we go in with that whole I'm going to get you pumped up energy, and we just start spieling at them, right? And you're going to feel great. And let me tell you about Tiffany. Tiffany did this, and now Tiffany can do 9,000 pull-ups. Don't you want to be like Tiffany? And let me tell you about John. John's incredible. No, talk to Annie. Talk to me. Listen to Annie. Listen to me. John and Tiffany are important when I am making the decision that you are the right choice for me. But right now, I'm not even convinced that health coaching is the right choice for me. Right now, I'm not even convinced that my health is something that I can maintain or change. Right? Mm-hmm. So if you're spending your whole first session just teaching or talking at them, or immediately just putting them to the test, if you're like, hey, come over here, do these push-ups. What am I really learning from doing 10 push-ups in front of another person? Except for, hey, I could do these better than I thought, or wow, this is embarrassing. There's not a whole lot of play there. But if I asked you to do 10 push-ups right now, what would your reaction be? That's a lot more telling than actually watching them do it, unless you're something like a physical therapist and you're looking to see about their elbow rotation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, no, I'm glad that you described it like that. Well, listen, I know that you teach all of this stuff, in which I love, the Non-Sleazy Sales Academy. So can you tell us about other things that you do when we get signed up for this?
Oh, heck yeah. The Non-Sleazy Sales Academy is my loving, nurturing membership where we make sure that you are showing up in your business exactly how you want to show up and exactly how your clients need you to show up, because those two things are actually way, way, way closer than you think they are. Right? So if you feel like you're living a split existence, or you feel like you're over delivering or over serving, please reach out to me. I would love to give you some flash coaching in the minute or the closest minute to it, so I can make sure that you are showing up for them how you want to. Because by showing up for them how you want to, we show ourselves where we're not showing up for ourselves. Right? And so we can't just tell, we also have to do. And I don't think anybody knows that more than health coaches. We can't just say eat right. We have to eat right too. We are living our brand, right? And so if you're living your brand and struggling to sell with that, please come find me all across the internet. I would love to sit down and chat and see how we can get you unstuck. And then I also have my own podcast called Too Legitimate to Quit, which is instantly actionable small business strategies, but with a pop culture spin. So we pull lessons out of stuff like Bridgerton and Curb Your Enthusiasm and Lizzo and all sorts of things to see what, in addition to my guests' brilliant brains, we can pull out of the inspiration that's all around us.
Fantastic. So can you leave us your website as well?
Sure. It's AnniePRuggles.com. salesman.com.
Excellent. Listen, Annie, you've been fantastic. I definitely feel a lot better about selling, and I do think that my health coach audience will totally agree with the concepts and feel better about it as well. So I appreciate you being on the show, and have a great rest of the day.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.
Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.